He's no longer a congressman. I'm not trying to be funny, but he lost his seat. He was on all them right-wing podcasts talking all that shit. He was like, Washington is worse than Hollywood. They have orgies and parties and parties. Now, I don't doubt that they do this kind of shit in Washington, but I doubt he's seen it with his own eyes.
What's going on out there, peeps? Man, call me crazy. I'm watching all these different news cycles, and the news cycle changes more now than ever before. I mean, it is so quick, it's hard to keep up with what's new and what's not. Every 5 minutes, it seems like there's a new issue coming out. Anyways, this cover right here, Donkey Kong's Sex, Crimes, and Corruptions in the Democratic Party. You know how old this book is? Since 2006. Look at this, since 2006. So the Democrats have been involved with so much corruption that people have gotten used to it and just don't care anymore. I mean, right now, the reason why they're attacking Trump the way they are, calling him Hitler, calling him a dictator and shit like that, is because he's exposing them and there's nothing they could do about it. He's exposing all the crimes, and some of them are getting busted and some are not. Now, the fact that the media is running interference for the Democrat is why it's not worse than it is right now. I'm talking about the exposure of the Democratic Party. Don't get me wrong, there's some bad guys inside the Republican Party as well, but it seems like every night some Democrat is getting busted for one thing or another, all of it pertaining to corruption. Now, Dave Chappelle's making a joke about Hawthorne. I don't know if you guys remember him. He was the handicapped Republican senator. I like how he said he went on all the right-wing podcasts. He just went on a podcast, period. Because what Hawthorne was telling people, that people in Congress hold these sex parties and they do drugs and shit like that. You know what I mean? And everybody thought he was crazy. Now all that truth is coming out. And then we take a look at what's going on in P. Diddy's case, what's going on with the Epstein case, Jimmy Savile back in the olden days. I mean, all these people that are entertainers, politicians, judges, all of them being busted for being at these types of parties. And you want to know why it is? It's shit all over the American people. And the American people always feel like there's nothing you can do about it. It's because we don't demand them do anything. These people get exposed for the crimes and then it just blows right over. Or if you're lucky, you might get one or two of them to actually go to court. And if for some strange reason something happens and they don't get charged. Or if we're really lucky, you might see somebody get charged. But the truth of the matter is they all protect their own. It's very obvious they do. Let's get into this because I'm going to show you some examples of what I'm talking about.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we have yet another senior-ranking Democratic politician just blatantly breaking federal law, and this time it's everyone's favorite incompetent mayor, LA City Mayor Karen Bass. Now, yesterday afternoon, President Trump's ICE agents carried out numerous raids in Los Angeles aimed at targeting the most violent illegal aliens in the city in order to help keep the country safe. However, these ICE raids didn't exactly go over very well with LA City's radically progressive mayor, Karen Bass. And yes, by the way, she's the very same mayor that just 6 months ago allowed the Pacific Palisades to burn down, causing tens of billions of dollars worth of damage.
She is a Marxist communist. That's another thing that blows my mind, is these people who are openly active in the communist movement and they still manage to hold these positions. She was overseas attending a communist party while the whole town burned down. Unbelievable.
But so folks, check this out. After the ICE raids had concluded, Mayor Karen Bass had this to say. This morning, we received reports of federal immigration enforcement actions in multiple locations in Los Angeles. As mayor of a proud city of immigrants who contributed to our city in so many ways, I am deeply angered by what has taken place. These tactics sow terror in our communities and disrupt basic principles of safety in our city. My office is in close coordination with immigrant rights community organizations. We will not stand for this.
Coordination with immigrant rights community organizations, and when you dig into them, you find out that they are all communist organizations. Okay, first of all, you got to pay attention to the way they talk. I'm talking about Democrats. They do this all the time. When she says, as mayor of a proud city of immigrants, that's fine. There are a lot of immigrants in California. But the ones that are being targeted are people who are illegal aliens. They're here illegally. They're not supposed to be here. and many of them coming from organized gangs that have been committing murder and tons of other crimes here in America. So Trump is getting rid of them, and the Democrats are choosing this hill to stand on. So keep that in mind when you go to vote for them. Don't fall for this, well, Trump's trying to be a dictator and he wants to violate all the rules and he ignores laws. No, that's not the case, because the Supreme Court keeps supporting him. The ones that are breaking the laws are the Democrats. So there's Karen Bass breaking the law.
And so, folks, let's break down what this really means. Not only is she not going to comply with federal immigration officers who are working to enforce our nation's federal immigration laws that we all democratically agreed upon, by the way, but she's also going to be working with various illegal alien activist groups to actively undermine the federal immigration officers. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a word for this. It's called sedition, and guess what? It's a federal crime. But so, folks, this is where today's story gets absolutely wild. You see, LA City Mayor Karen Bass actually issued a video statement about all of this as well, and somehow it's even worse. Check this out.
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos.
Oh, it doesn't stop there. Stacey Abrams, another Democrat who constantly finds herself in trouble, but still manages to be in high-profile positions. When is she ever going to be arrested? Here she is again under another investigation.
Why is it that so often, every so often, your girl, Stacey Abrams, pops up on some like corruption related stuff, y'all? I mean, how many different corruption related Stacey Abrams linked organization stories could there possibly be? You all remember the $2 billion, right, from the Biden administration that was kind of like a little bitty gift. I shouldn't say little bitty, a huge gift to her and related organizations. And you might also remember this story that we're about to get into real quick, that the state of Georgia is launching an investigation, or at this point already has the investigation launched, into Stacey Abrams linked organizations that were slapped with the largest campaign finance violation fines in the state's history. And now we also have this story. Payments from Stacey Abrams' Georgia nonprofit to Friends law firm under scrutiny. Here it says, former Democratic gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams is facing renewed questions regarding her financial history, as recent tax filings reveal her voting rights advocacy group, Fair Fight Action, paid over $20 million to a law firm founded by her close friend and former campaign chair, Allegra Lawrence Hardy. Between 2019 and 2023, Fair Fight Action reportedly paid approximately $20.2 million to Lawrence and Bundy for unspecified legal services.
I want to turn to a topic I know you care a lot about, immigration enforcement.
Yep.
This is a wild story here. There's nearly a dozen ICE agents who are currently sick and stranded in a metal shipping container in the East African country of Djibouti. The officers are being forced to watch these 8 criminal illegal aliens you see on the screen right here. This is after a federal judge ordered they not be deported to South Sudan. Now, these aliens have all been convicted of really heinous crimes, including murder and child sexual assault. The U.S. military base where these ICE agents are stuck in, really, really dangerous. On top of temperatures being over 100 degrees, the officers and the detainees are sick. They're at risk of getting malaria. On top of that, they're facing possible rocket attacks from Houthi terrorists in nearby Yemen. Homeland Security spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin posting this, quote, "The Massachusetts district judge is putting the lives of our law enforcement in danger, stranding them in Djibouti without proper resources, lack of medical care, and terrorists who hate Americans running rampant. This is reprehensible and, quite frankly, pathological." Congressman, one of the guys that they're watching over there is a Cuban national convicted of murder who's had a deportation order since 1999. All the guys have deportation orders. They had their due process. Now this judge is saying you got to do it all over again.
Yeah, you remember President Jackson who said, well, you know, the courts, you've issued your opinion, now go enforce it. I think we ought to be sending this federal judge from Massachusetts straight over to Djibouti and say, look, you deal with these violent criminals. You deal with the heat. You deal with the missiles that are flying in and dealing with what's going on with the Houthis. We are putting our ICE agents in danger. to go deal with these violent criminals who the previous administration doesn't really care to make sure that we're, keeping out of the streets and keeping out of our country. And now you've got a liberal judge, a radical judge, who's endangering them by trying to insert himself into the middle of what is clearly an executive function, to say we've got these dangerous people and they need to be sent home, and that, or sent wherever, sent out of our country. And so I want these judges to have to step up. They issue their orders. They sit behind their desk with a pen. Like, make this judge have to go over to Djibouti and go check out what he's forcing these ICE agents to do so that he can go feel good about himself at cocktail parties in frickin' Boston.
They're talking about this idiot here, Brian Murphy, appointed by Joe Biden. This is the guy that's forcing our ICE agents to stay over there while these people get retried. They're hardened criminals, already been tried. There's no reason for retrying them. This is what we're talking about when he used lawfare against Trump, whether personally or during his presidency. And we're talking about Democrats at all different levels. Take the Obama knockoff, the Timu Barack Obama.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, Democratic House Minority Speaker Hakeem Jeffries might be looking at some jail time here pretty soon because, as it would turn out, he just committed a serious federal crime. Now, as you all know, for the last couple of months, President Trump's ICE agents have been scouring the country looking for illegal aliens that they can apprehend, detain, and deport. That being said, ICE agents have recently become the victims of a drastic rise in violence, with assaults against ICE officers surging by 413% since President Trump stepped back into the White House. On top of that, various radically progressive groups have been actually targeting ICE agents, identifying them, then trying to harass them in their personal lives. Really, what the ICE agents have been forced to deal with lately is absolutely disgusting. And so, because of these ongoing threats and safety concerns, ICE agents across the country have begun wearing masks to conceal their identities, just to avoid harassment from all of the far-left radical progressives. But you see, various senior-ranking Democrats aren't happy about this development, to say the least. They actually want our ICE agents to get harassed and to have their lives ruined, because they pose a threat to the Democrats' beloved illegal aliens. In fact, if you don't believe me, take a look at what Democratic Boston Mayor Michelle Wu recently had to say about all of this. Let it play.
I don't know of any police department that routinely wears masks. We know that there are other groups that routinely wear masks. NSC 131 routinely wears masks.
You notice that the Democrats do that all the time? Everything is being compared to fascism and Hitler. Yes, you're just like Hitler. You're just like the Nazis. When it's them, it's their actions that are like the Nazis. They are the fascists. That's what's so ironic about this.
Mayor, just to clarify, are you comparing ICE, you said, to NSC 131, the neo-Nazi group? Are you comparing them to a neo-Nazi group?
What I said is that Boston Police and no police department that I know of at the local level routinely wears masks.
So folks, that was a senior-ranking Democratic politician directly comparing a bunch of ICE agents just doing their job to a bunch of neo-Nazis. With rhetoric like that, it's no wonder that ICE agents have been getting attacked and assaulted all across the country. But check this out. What Hakeem Jeffries had to say about all of this was perhaps even worse. But before we play that, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, take a look at this.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is America. This is not the Soviet Union. We're not behind the Iron Curtain. This is not the 1930s. And every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified. That in fact is the law.
That is not the law. He's putting these people's lives in danger. That's exactly what they want to do. Scare these people so that they don't do their job. When you make that kind of threat, look, this is what I'm talking about. The Timu knockoff of Barack Obama. If Trump did his job and went and arrested all these people, there would be no more Democratic Party. They're all criminals, and they should be charged and arrested. And they're daring Trump to do this, because then it's going to look like Trump's trying to be a tyrant. So he is exercising patience that I don't have. As far as I'm concerned, lock them all up. Here's another situation in which the Democrats go in there, commit crimes, physically attacking people.
This was the thing that went down, right? By the way, LaMonica LaGyver, she's facing up to 8 years. She's the lady in red. Take a look at what went down. This is just a few weeks ago at the Delancey Immigration Center.
Get off of her! You cannot push it! You cannot Congress! You can't push back from Congress! Get off of her!
You are fascists! This is peaceful!
Do you hear that? This is peaceful. You are fascists?
First of all, these Democrats are claiming that they're there to do oversight. And they know they have to call in advance, set up an appointment, and come in to be seen. That's how you do oversight. Not show up with a mob of people to protest and make a big scene like this and attack ICE agents. That's all bullshit.
By the way, LaMonica is the one in red. You can't miss her.
With her hands hitting ICE agents. So she's going to be charged. She didn't cooperate anyways. They asked her to come in and try to settle this. She said no. So charge her. Give her the maximum sentence. Throw her in jail. These Democrats are never going to stop unless you start setting some examples. So the feds charged New Jersey Congressmember with assault. And we all saw her do it. I would not want this hungry himple landing on my back punching me. I don't care if I was an ICE agent or not. The other thing you're going to notice about these protests, you got all these like 60, 70, 80-year-old hippies doing the protesting. That youth movement that they thought they had is no longer there. Not like in 2020 during the pandemic. No, 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 no. As a matter of fact, there is a couple of young people making videos bitching at Gen Z saying, where the hell are you for these protests? Well, that's because they woke up and they're siding with Trump. They don't want this shit in their neighborhood. They're not taking your side, Democrats. Look at, here's who they have on their sides.
And that's what it is. There's a bunch of old geriatrics trying to relive their glory days. It's like, oh, I was a hippie protesting against Vietnam years ago, and this is the same. Nope, you just look completely stupid. If you don't believe me that the whole thing looked really stupid, and you're curious kind of what went down in Newark at this same ICE detention facility today, well, just take a listen for yourself and understand this is what we are dealing with.
Fascism's got to go. Got to go. We say no. We say no. We say no. We say no. Fascism's got to go. Don't trash the Constitution.
All right, that's the scene in New Jersey.
Yep, see exactly what I mean. A bunch of geriatrics who were at Woodstock once upon a time, and they're still stuck in those days.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against George. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon's kept within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk.
Yeah, that's what we have showing up at these protests. Anyways, future presidential candidate AOC Biscuit making threats.
So from Massachusetts to this scene in New Jersey on Friday where immigration's hitting a flashpoint in Newark. This is body cam video showing 3 House Democrats confronting ICE agents outside a detention facility there. The DHS saying that arrests are still on the table after that chaos. The acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, here in studio to talk about this. And good morning to you. Got a lot of things we want to sort out here. Democrats claim they have congressional oversight, and they're on a visit for oversight, and they have the right to conduct that under federal law. You say to them what, based on what we know now?
I say 100% they do. That is in their purview. They do have congressional oversight. What we ask for is for them to do it the right way. Notify us in advance. You know, don't make a scene. Don't put my office in jeopardy. Don't put the men and women who work there at jeopardy. You know, the protesters were out there. Just do it the right way.
So where in this case did they cross the line in your view?
In my view, trying to force their way in, just trying to make a political stunt out of this, really, it goes above and beyond. ICE is all about transparency. You know, today we were there, had a tour of the facility with several media outlets. We want people to see what we're doing. But when you go ahead and you try to storm your way in, when you try to just bring cameras, bully my officers and agents, that's just not the right way to do it. Let's work together. Let's have that oversight, but let's do it in a professional manner, not a political stunt.
So the mayor of Newark, Ross Baraka, he had this to say on MSNBC on Saturday.
We don't know what's going on in there. We don't know who's in there. They don't allow inspections. They're not doing, they're not complying with the local laws. They don't have a certificate of occupancy in our argument. And we were in court arguing these matters.
This is not true. You can't go in there. You can't see what's going on. You do know what's going on in these facilities. Just more bullshit lies.
Usually solve those problems in America through the court of law. They don't want to use the court. They want to use a decree. They believe that what they say goes, that we have a kingdom here and not a democracy. And that's the problem.
He's in the middle of a primary election. There's a gubernatorial election in November in New Jersey. So he's running against other Democrats. A lot of people might not know his name, but now a lot of people will after this. He says that all of these things are not being done legally at that facility. What do you say?
You know, we wouldn't have been able to have anyone legally in that facility without the permits. And one thing that I really find strikingly odd in this case is the mayor was elected in 2014. In 2014, Delaney Hall was open. There were immigration detainees there at that time. At no time under President Obama did he want to go ahead and have a protest. But yet now he makes a political stunt like this. And, you know, he also made the comments he wasn't there to protest, but he'd been there all week. So there's that.
Mm-hmm. So that's from the mayor. Here's from AOC on camera 2. Watch.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
Sounds like a threat. I say go ahead and push forward. Oh, I'm sorry, they did. And what happened? Nothing. AOC didn't do a damn thing. They've charged LaMonica with assault charges. As she said, hopefully she ends up in jail. Things are so bad that they have to fake hate crime.
This is Texas Judge KP George and his Chief of Staff, Terrell Patel. Now, Patel is about to give an interview where he's saying Trump supporters are attacking him because of his race.
It doesn't matter what my policies are. They're coming after my race, my religion, my nationality, which is American. But, you know, I've been called Indian, Pakistani, so many different things that are not even accurate. But our goal is to respond back with love.
That was Terrell Patel on The Factor last year when he claimed he was a victim of racism in the political race for county commissioner.
Then, shockingly, Patel got arrested because he was the one making these fake hate crimes.
More new information tonight on this story. The arrest of a candidate for the Fulton County Commissioner's Court.
Yeah, police say Terrell Patel created a fake social media account, then used it to make racist attacks against himself. He's facing a felony count of online impersonation. In newly obtained court documents, authorities allege Patel stole a Needville man's photo, used it to set up his fake Facebook persona for a man he called Antonio Scallywag.
After Patel was arrested, authorities then found that his boss, sitting Judge KP George, was doing the same thing during his re-election campaign, faking hate crimes.
The Fulton County judge is now being investigated for alleged election fraud. Judge KP George is accused of knowing about fake posts made by his former campaign consultant, Terrell Patel.
Then authorities got enough evidence to indict the judge on faking hate crimes against himself. A sitting judge.
George is accused of using a fake social media account to attack himself and others by posting racist and xenophobic comments. Officials believe George
George did this in part with his former chief of staff, Taral Patel. To gain sympathy support in the 2022 election, George ultimately won for a second term.
Tonight, Fulton County Judge K.P. George was booked into jail just after 7 p.m. This is his mugshot. George is accused of posting fake racist messages to make it appear he was the target of hate during his 2022 re-election.
Okay, so we have this sitting judge and his chief of staff who have both been indicted for impersonating Trump supporters and committing racist hate crimes against themselves. I'm not joking.
Now, what should happen is they should be charged with hate crimes against Trump supporters for pretending to be one of them and falsely accusing Trump supporters as committing hate crimes. So when somebody fakes a hate crime, the hate crime should be flipped around and they should be charged for the hate crime themselves. But notice that when you catch especially one of their big fish for being corrupt and using taxpayer dollars to party and go on trips, like I said, these are the people that never get in trouble, but at least need to be outed.
I'm asking this question at Scott Taylor 7 News because your office hasn't answered it. Can you explain why no department in the district has a copy of your travel expenses for your trips to Miami in 2022 and Dubai in 2023, and why did you exclude them from your financial disclosure records? 7 News would like to know, how can any big city mayor fly all over the world on official business and not keep clear records of who paid for it?
We got another mayor out here spending a lot of money. Another mayor, another mystery trip. This time it's Mayor Muriel Bowser from Washington, D.C., flying high and dodging questions like she's Neo from The Matrix. It just shows that, in D.C., dysfunction is on full display.
My team has reported on for months. Is D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser violating any D.C. code by not declaring trips to Miami, Dubai, and the Masters as gifts? Investigator Scott Taylor is still looking for answers.
When you have a politician like Mayor Bowser who refuses to sit down and answer my questions on camera, you have to dig deep, ask questions in news conferences, and request a lot of documents. That is exactly what we have done for months, and we are still not getting answers from Mayor Bowser.
Mayor Bowser. She's the one involved with the January 6th situation. She colluded with Nancy Pelosi to make that thing happen, and then lied about it, and nothing happened to her, claiming that Trump never requested 10,000 National Guards people to be present. She lied, and she's still the mayor. Maxine Waters. FEC slaps Maxine Waters with a $68,000 fine for illegal campaign contributions, financial violations. At one time, Maxine Waters and Kamala Harris, for 3 years in a row, were voted as the most corrupt people in Congress. Now, since then, Maxine Waters has gone on to hold this now for 8 consecutive years. That's how out in the open her crimes are, that she could be voted as most corrupt person in Congress and still be in Congress.
She is one of the loudest voices in Congress. She spent decades lecturing Americans about ethics and accountability. But now she's the one in hot water. A powerful Democrat just got hit with a major ruling. A federal investigation exposed what Maxine Waters has been hiding. And now the judge is handing down the sentence. You won't get this kind of hard-hitting coverage of corrupt Democrats like Maxine Waters on MSNBC. But we've got the full story and the receipts. Please like, comment, and share to explain America, because the media won't tell you what really happened in the Maxine Waters scandal. And we want to get the truth out to the American people. So here's the story. Congresswoman Maxine Waters' campaign has been found guilty of violating multiple federal election laws. Now she's being forced to pay the penalties.
This is what I'm talking about. You won't hear it in the mainstream media. You heard the guy. That's because they run interference for him. Because if people kept hearing how these Democrats committing all these crimes over and over, after a while they're going to say, what the hell? I mean, I'm glad people are waking up now and the Democrats have no support. But that's why they're attacking Trump, because he's exposing them over and over and over again.
Remember Cori Bush, a member of the squad? They were going to take over the Democrat Party. They were going to do so through direct action and protest. Here's Cori Bush protesting on the Capitol steps. Cori Bush is a total dumbass, and she lost her seat in a Democrat primary, not to a Republican. She represents the murder capital of the Midwest in St. Louis. She lost in a blowout, And she was the incumbent, and the Democrat Party ran against her, and she got destroyed.
As she should. Other members of the so-called squad are being voted out of office because people are tired of their extreme bullshit. I told you guys years ago that the progressive just means communists, have taken over the Democratic Party. And the only way you're going to get back to normalcy is to start getting these guys out of office. Cori Bush was one. Jamal Bowman is the other one. Thank God both of them are out, and I anticipate others going. Look, I'd rather them lose to centrist Democrats if we can't get a Republican in there. But you got to get rid of these extreme idiots that are running around causing so much trouble in our politics.
Cori Bush is somebody who gets destroyed by many things, but now there are some federal indictments that are destroying her, and oh, it is so much fun. Just a special reminder that Cori Bush is somebody that the Democrats didn't want in office because, well, she ran on defunding the police, and then when embarrassing reports about her paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for private security came out, she said this.
I'm going to make sure I have security because I know I have had attempts on my life and I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now for me to allow that. So if I end up spending $200,000, if I spend $10 more on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets.
I wonder why Democrats wanted her to lose her seat. This was the headlines as she was leaving office in humiliation. Cori Bush blames right-wing organizations for DOJ investigation that says she needs $750,000 security detail with relentless threats. Democrats claim she hired husband for his experience.
This is what I'm talking about. Their spouses are always benefiting from these payouts, these bribes and other crap that they set up. Spouses, their children, family members, friends, all benefit huge amounts of money from all these crimes that the Democrats commit.
And now he's abusing taxpayer funds. So Cori Bush, it was announced that she's under investigation. Her husband, who has zero security experience, is getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be her security guard. This is obviously fraud at the taxpayer expense. And it's funny to just see people go down exactly how you think they'd go down, because now, lo and behold, the indictment charges have been filed, but they're just racking up the charges now at this point. The fake security guard husband for Cori Bush has caught a case. Courtney Merritt's is his name. He's 46, of St. Louis, Missouri, has been charged today in federal indictments in 2 counts of wire fraud for allegedly filing fraudulent applications for a Small Business Administration. He got PPP loans for the Paycheck Protection Program, $20,000. The indictment was announced by U.S. Attorney Edward Martin. According to the indictment, in 2020, Cori Bush's husband / security guard, isn't that amazing? It's like the Ilhan Omar thing, really. I don't think it's her brother, but like it's just the same. It's the same operation, right?
What he's talking about is Ilhan Omar married her brother so he can get citizenship here in the United States. And they couldn't bust her because they said it's past the statute of limitations. No, deport them. They got here illegally, deport them.
Marriage for like a money funneling, defrauding of the taxpayers. Merritt's received $8,500 in a loan and an application. He received a grand total of $20,000.
The point being, Cori Bush illegally hired her husband to be her security, all along complaining that we need to defund the police. Then you look at the 2 district attorneys that went after Trump the hardest. Come to find out they're freaking criminals.
Well, we are following some breaking news tonight at 6 as a judge has now ordered Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to pay more than $54,000 for violating the Open Records Act. Zach Merchant with our 11 Alive political team broke the story. And Zach, you just got a copy of that court order. What have you learned here?
We did. We just got a hold of this Fulton County Superior Court order just in the last roughly 15 to 20 minutes. In it, Judge Rachel Krause rules that DA Fani Willis violated the State Open Records Act by failing to turn over documents requested by defense attorney Ashley Merchant. The judge wrote that the defendants, the Fulton County DA's office, were openly hostile to Merchant and failed to handle her requests in good faith. Merchant had sought a copy of confidentiality agreements signed by DA's office employees, as well as a list of attorneys hired by DA Willis. Judge Krause today gave the district attorney 30 days to pay merchant $54,000 in attorney's fees and to turn over those requested files. Spokespeople for the DA's office did not immediately return requests for comment.
Oh, she didn't turn them over. She continues to hide these things because once the paperwork's turned over, you're going to find out, just like Cori Bush paid her husband for security in the $700 and some thousand. Fani Willis paid her boyfriend $1 million to handle a RICO case against Trump in which he has no experience. Zero experience in RICO cases. The other lawyers were experts in RICO cases. They handled the case while he sat back and got money and then turned around and spoiled her with trips galore. He's been removed from the case. She's been removed from the case because it's corrupt. More Democrats doing their best.
A South Suburban mayor up for re-election next week is feeling the heat from her residents and questions from our news team.
We spent months trying to get a simple answer about her salary.
You know, after the super mayor ended up losing the Democratic primary against Jason House, so when I saw a local Chicago news report on a South Suburban mayor that happened to be a black woman that was playing games with the finances in her particular town, I decided I had to cover it. So this is that video on Linwood's mayor, the discount super mayor, who turns out to be possibly fraudulently enriching herself, despite the fact that the salary is nowhere near what she's taking home, according to public records.
Morning, Mayor Cori. I'm great. This interaction is months in the making. CBS News Chicago heard from residents that Linwood Mayor Jada Curry is taking home nearly triple the amount that's in the budget. Our calls and emails asking for an explanation didn't get us too far, so we took a trip to the south suburb. Can we talk to you about some questions circulating about your salary? Over a statement to you all.
So this is the South Suburban mayor in question, a woman called Jada D. Curry, and as you can see right here, the local news affiliate has tried to get information on her particular salary from records requests. However, it's being blocked, so they decided to show up in Linwood in order to
records being blocked, like in Fani Willis, same thing.
Confront her, and she appears to be unloading a large black SUV. Right now, she's saying that she gave them a statement, it was a written statement, and all these different allegations, or as the real super mayor would say, allegations.
False allegations and not facts.
Are in fact nonsense in every possible way. There's nothing going on in this South Suburban suburb of the city of Chicago, and the fact is, you trying to go after her are basically you beating and attacking on a black woman.
That's what they always do. Scream racist. You're attacking me because I'm a person of color. No, we're attacking you because you're criminals. So here's another mayor doing the same thing as Tiffany Harden.
Because y'all got false narratives out there, and y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. All the stuff that y'all did to get people to come to our community, to just diss and down our community.
Game, recognized game. She at least did her shit good. So she stole all kinds of money from this town and spent it on ridiculous things, trips to Vegas. But what she was smart in doing was she also corrupted her police department who protected her. So she was able to stay where she was for quite a long time. And these people couldn't do anything about it. And if you did try to do something about it, the police would show up at your door.
Shame on y'all.
Now look, I know you guys are thinking, Sean, you need to stop trying to make this woman the next super mayor, and I understand that she has yet to release her diss track where she admits to a bunch of different crimes that she's been accused of over the course of years. She hasn't gotten into a brawl at a township meeting or anything of the sort, but let us focus on what she did do, or is accused of doing, because I think that is actually pretty fascinating, because Illinois is actually the state with the most corrupt politicians. The most people who have gone to federal prison for corruption that are politicians are from the state of Illinois. It's absolute madness over there.
A statement that led to even more questions about how taxpayer money is being spent in Linwood. More on that after some quick history. In 2021, Jada Curry ran for village president, aka mayor. Well before the election, this ordinance drastically reduced the salary of its next to be determined mayor. $85,000 a year dropped to $20,000. We know Curry knew about the pay cut because she was a trustee, and her vote is recorded right here. opposing the 20 grand salary.
So right here we have the setup for this particular story. And by the way, it's something familiar that we actually saw from the super mayor, where they ended up voting in the Thornton Township, which was not her position as mayor. It was at the Board of Supervisors over there, to reduce the salary for the Thornton Township Board of Supervisors head from over $250,000 down to $25,000 if somebody else ended up getting elected to this position. So of course, the corruption is seeped in all these local Illinois governments. That was the previous mayor trying to basically kneecap the future mayor, which ended up being this person, but she voted against it, and obviously she was aware of this because she was running for mayor at the time that she voted against this, so she knows that the salary for the position that she currently holds has dropped down to just $20,000.
So basically, they replaced a corrupt mayor with a new corrupt mayor. That's terrible. Here's what happens when these progressive Democrats get out of control and try to fight Republicans.
I made sure that he was taken care of, even in death. That's what I've been doing. But also, not just that, I went to all of my nephew's schools. I met with their principals and their teachers to ensure that they are okay. I gave them and made sure that they had grief counseling and that they're seeing a psychiatrist. That's what I've been.
So basically, he's getting bitched at by the Republicans because he's been missing a lot of time. He's not there to vote. He's kind of lollygagging around, spending taxpayers' monies, and so he's being called out for it. And this is his response.
And while you're talking about hard work, you need to realize that our job is not just in this state house with these marble floors. Our jobs are on the streets and in the communities that we serve. And so while you've been here passing bills that have been hurting transgender children, while you've been here passing bills that have been hurting the poor, hurting the marginalized, hurting the disenfranchised, while you've been here passing bills that have not ended poverty, while you've been here passing bills that have not helped people who need Medicaid expansion, while you've been here doing the hard work of making sure that our state is not the state that it can be, because you have decided.
Representative Pearson.
Reality of our situation is only to be.
Representative Pearson.
While you've been here doing that, I've been in my community.
Representative Pearson.
Meeting with young people, going to school.
A few moments later.
Mr. Chairman, you have 2 ayes, 7 nays.
The noes prevail. House Bill 1392 fails.
No. No, sir.
5-minute recess.
Yeah, that's what happens. When you get called out for the criminality, they will attack you if they have no other recourse.
Let the indictments begin. Why California Governor Gavin Newsom and other Democrat politicians are worried about a big announcement made this week by the U.S. Department of Justice, launching an investigation into state and local potential illegal activity here in California.
Now, this is the thing about California. It's been ran by the same crime families now for 50 years. They're untouchable. They literally are a crime family, a syndicate here in California. The Pelosi's, the Browns, the Gettys, the Newsoms, they're all related and intertwined with one another. So Gavin Newsom is supposed to be the next presidential hopeful. But the problem is he's getting busted left and right for one crime after another.
I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state legislator representing District 75 in the California State Assembly. There was a big announcement this week by the U.S. Department of Justice. The Trump administration prosecutors are gearing up with federal investigators to pour through a variety of problems in the state and local governments here in California. This is a bombshell announcement that's been made, and all of my sources tell me that not only are Newsom's political handlers concerned, but we've got a variety of state and local politicians that are shaking in their boots. Here's the announcement. Here's the story in Politico. Trump picks lightning rod California legislator to be U.S. attorney in Los Angeles. Bill Asaley being appointed by Trump to be basically the Department of Justice lead prosecutor for the entire Central Division of the state of California, which is 20 million people. Most of what goes on in California goes through his jurisdiction. And he's a former prosecutor. So he's a career prosecutor now being elevated in the Trump administration to a political appointee. He knows about the corruption. He's been kicking the tires. He's been pursuing a variety of very troubling revelations on government programs here in California. Now he has the ability to subpoena. he hit the ground running with this big announcement. Headline, U.S. Attorney's Office, Central Division of California. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley announces criminal task force to investigate fraud and corruption involving homelessness funds. Now, this is just relating to homelessness. More is coming down the pike, and we just cannot wait. So here is the announcement. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley today announced the formation of a homelessness, fraud, and corruption task force, which will investigate fraud, waste, and abuse and corruption involving funds allocated toward the eradication of homelessness within the 7-county jurisdiction in Central District of California. Task force will be comprised of federal prosecutors from the major frauds section, the public corruption and civil rights section, civil fraud section of the U.S. Attorney's Office. Task force will also include FBI, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Office of Inspector General, and the IRS Criminal Investigation. So basically, you've got DOJ, HUD, and Treasury through the IRS.
Get them all. They've been committing crimes against the people here in California and stealing the taxpayer monies for so long. Now, this is what the Democrats are doing. They don't care because all of them are getting busted. Their first fear was that Doge is going to expose them all. But now they don't care if they get busted because the more of them they get busted, that allows them to say, well, Trump's tyrannical. He just wants to be a dictator. That's why he's charging us. No, he's charging you because you're a freaking criminal. Again, more corruption in which the person that's being busted uses racism as an excuse.
Boston City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson has announced she'll resign, and she's expected to plead guilty in a federal corruption case.
Yeah, Lisa, the councilor says she is pleading guilty and resigning because it is the right thing to do. Now the Boston City Council has to figure out what to do with her seat and how to restore public trust.
It is not every day that we get some good news on this particular channel, that we get somebody who gets their just desserts, but this is exactly what happened to Councilwoman, now former Councilwoman, Tanya Fernandez Anderson, who we covered a couple of months ago, was actually charged with wire fraud, stealing taxpayer dollars, and a whole host of other corruption and financial crimes related to her position at the city council. Well, now she's done, she's cooked, the evidence is in, she is going to plead guilty, and I'm 100% here for it. There is not a more deserving individual of this harsh punishment, because not only did this woman get away with coming to this country illegally, she managed to work her way up into the city council, but when she got to the city council, she would not shut the hell up about how disadvantaged she was, and how, of course, the Boston City Council is so evil, white, and racist that all these evil, white racists are all sticking together and banding against her and making it seem like she's always guilty until she's proven innocent. Well, guess what, Tanya? You are guilty. That's why you're pleading guilty. You tried to funnel money to your family members in order to put it in your own.
There you go again, Democrats funneling money to family members, spouses, friends.
Pocket. You ended up getting caught, and the only downside of this particular story is that you pled guilty rather than being found guilty, because you deserve a harsh punishment, honestly, to be deported from this nation after coming here illegally and being able to get away with that for so long. But that's what we're going to talk about today.
People have the right to their opinion. I think that they should afford the privilege that everyone has to due process.
That was embattled Boston City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson in December, resisting resignation in the wake of her federal corruption case. But now federal prosecutors say the 46-year-old lawmaker will plead guilty to wire fraud and theft from a program receiving federal funds. And in her own words, she's resigning, saying in a statement, "I would like to apologize to my constituents, supporters, and all who have been impacted. Please forgive me."
So right there, you just saw the juxtaposition from when she was investigated for these particular crimes as compared to her statement right now. And you may have noticed in the B-roll that there's a lot of footage of her yelling, a lot of footage of her screaming. And most of the time when this woman was yelling and screaming, guess what? She was playing the victim of evil white racism, and accusing everyone and anyone based on the color of their skin being white of being evil, white, and racist. And again, she was doing this in the Boston City Council, one of the most woke, left-wing kind of city councils in the entire country. They quite literally had a scandal where they were doing a segregationist party for only minority representatives that the mayor, by the way, did not apologize for and ended up defending. But this person right here, she was the real victim. And let's go through some of those clips so you can understand why I can't stand this woman.
People are calling me and telling me, don't say anything, stay in your lane, be quiet, sit down, you will lose your your seat. They won't vote for you. Fight. Don't fight. What the f do I have to do in this f***ing council in order to get respect as a black woman? And I'm going to tell you, I'm not afraid of losing the votes. I'm not afraid of the seat. I'm not afraid of anybody here.
The ones that are the loudest, the ones that are cussing, are the ones that are usually the guilty people.
We are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. That's enough to find a plantation.
Yeah, everything is slavery days. Everything is racism. And whoever told the Democrats to start cussing, that's like their latest thing now. Cuss all the time. It's unprofessional.
Leading to headlines like this from the Babylon Bee, Jasmine Crockett floats down the mighty Mississippi to purchase fresh shipment of Mexican slaves. Jasmine Crockett's going to have to learn to do something because she's not going to be a member of Congress for much longer. I think Jasmine Crockett is potentially set to be picking up a orange jumpsuit if the new criminal probe into how she won her congressional seat turns out to be fraud. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump into that. But first, a little bit of context about Jasmine Crockett. And maybe all of this is really coming together because we've seen this representative lash out against reporters in the U.S. House of Representatives. Look here. This is one of Laura Loomer's reporters. And Jasmine Crockett claws at them, right? The claws at their phone. What a psychopath. We've seen her pathologically change her accent.
No one
None of it
could've
makes
told
any
me
sense.
that when I went down to Austin, now it looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress. It's just not what my plan was. But what I've always decided is that
the Democrats are too busy trying to be TikTok stars. I'm not even kidding.
that I would step up when there was a need.
Listen, he up there, he's hearing all kinds of nonsense and bullshit. Let me just be real. And we weren't gonna sit for that shit. We wouldn't, you know.
How does somebody this inauthentic and fraudulent and fake end up winning and becoming a star in the Democrat Party unless there's something else happening here? Was Jasmine Crockett selected in order to win a specific seat, in order to fill a specific demographic for the Democrat Party, a DEI hire, you could call it, and she's playing the part? And what would you call that? Fraud. And what do we know now about the way that Democrats have won probably dozens, if not hundreds of congressional seats? Fraud. This from the New York Times. ActBlue, the Democrat fundraising powerhouse, faces internal chaos. 7 senior officials have left the group. Deep concerns about the future confront scrutiny from congressional Republicans. Congressional Republicans are saying that they've uncovered fraud on ActBlue.
So what James O'Keefe has exposed about ActBlue is they would take the names of some of their contributors and then donate thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars in their name without them knowing. Now, sure, they didn't take the money from the people. The money came from places like China. And then the ActBlue made it easy to funnel money into there by not forcing people to use a security code on the back of these cards. And a lot of Democrats have used ActBlue to funnel money in other locations. So basically, it was just a fraud hub. So now they're being exposed thanks to Elon Musk and Doge, as well as James O'Keefe.
If you're unfamiliar, ActBlue is the fundraising 800-pound gorilla for the Democrat Party. Without ActBlue, the Democrats can't raise money. It is a massive data collection and financial services for the Democrat Party. And again, they would be completely broken and destitute without them. ActBlue in turmoil. Mysteriously, 7 top executives have left in the past 3 weeks, several of whom have all been there more than a decade. None of them will explain why they left. The last remaining lawyer at ActBlue's general counsel office has been locked out of their email and put on leave after sending internal messages that we have a whistleblower policies for a reason to union representatives, and ActBlue's employees are openly questioning the group's stability, calling the situation alarming, and they're demanding the hiring of an independent investigator. More than $16 billion has passed through ActBlue in the last 20 years. What could they possibly be hiding? Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk has regularly posted about this as he looks for fraud. He quote tweeted James O'Keefe. How does ActBlue commit fraud? They use the names and addresses of real Americans who aren't donors to Democrats, but they funnel money, small donations, through those addresses. And when you line up tens of thousands of addresses, you're able to then funnel millions, if not billions of dollars from China, from Saudi Arabia, I don't know from where.
But it's not just that. It also gives the Democrats the chance to go, look, this is a grassroots movement. These people are donating like $20, $10. There's millions of these donations, when that's not true. Not at all. Many of these people, they show on record as donated 20 to 30,000 times, which is impossible.
But you can funnel enormous amounts of money in relatively small donations by using the fraudulent information of legitimate voters here in America. What happens is that James O'Keefe goes up and asks these voters, did you actually donate $70,000 to Kamala Harris? And they're like, what are you talking about? $70,000 in $500 increments over the last 10 years. Here, this individual, this little old lady living in this in this humble home, apparently donated $20,000 to Democrats in 1,000 individual donations. And she says, what are you talking about? I've never donated to Democrats here. Elon Musk saying ActBlue has committed massive fraud. Well, that's what's going on at ActBlue. So that's the precursor here, okay, to the news about Jasmine Crockett. Democrat Representative Jasmine Crockett is now under investigation by the FEC over donations made to her campaign through leftist fundraising organization ActBlue. Evidence reportedly shows that an individual donated to her campaign over 50 times without their knowledge, suggesting the donations were being given under a false name. Crockett received $870,000.
Get Jasmine Crotch Itch out of office. Get these people. Throw them in jail, gosh damn it. We're tired of hearing about all their crimes, but nothing's being done. Look, I just keep going and going.
California's politicians are on the take as we continue to shine a light through Doge California on corruption and wasteful spending. We've uncovered an enormous amount of freebies that politicians are taking at your expense, gifts from lobbyists, and sweetheart lobbying deals that they're negotiating while in office. Coming up, we'll walk you through the whole corrupt list of what we're finding, and we will unveil a bill to ban it all. End the perks for politicians in California. That's all coming up. You know that politicians believe that there are two sets of rules. Rules for you, and then no rules for them. They are on the take. Not all of them. There are some really good public servants. I don't want to brush with too broad a brush, but there's a whole lot of corruption and self-dealing going on in California state and local politics. And we've got a whole laundry list of gifts that they've been getting from special interests, lavish travel expenses that they're paying for using campaign money. They're living high on the hog. They're even lining up future lobbying jobs while they're in office and engaging in insider trading. We're going to go through each of the examples, but we have a bill that would ban all of this. It's called Cut the Politicians' Perks Act of 2025. I've introduced it in the state legislature, but it's also something that we are going to continue to try to apply.
That's a damn shame when they have to pass laws like this. There are already laws prohibiting what's going on, but they have to pass more specific laws.
This is a story that is not getting talked about enough. I think Adam Schiff, he has to be an awful person. I do wonder if I sat down face to face and I would see the human in him and feel bad about calling him Adam Schiff for brains, McSchiff face for years. I don't think I would, because he's truly an awful person who sought to destroy other people. He's an awful person who has sought to steal the life and liberty of other people. And so I don't harbor any personal resentment to him. I just think he's an awful person who needs to be put on blast, and he should be in jail. He lied during Russiagate, and now it seems that he's committed the exact same type of alleged property fraud, mortgage fraud as Leticia James, another person who is a disgusting scumbag scoundrel of an excuse for a human. I have no personal gripe against them. They are awful people who try to strip other people of property and life and freedom. And there is nothing worse than stealing someone's freedom. This story is old, but I think it needs to be made new again. Adam Schiff allegedly committed the exact same type of mortgage fraud that Leticia James did by claiming as a primary residence, multiple primary residences, so that he could get, I don't know, presumably better interest rates or whatever. Can you imagine also lying for like 0.5% on your mortgage rates? Holy hell, how stupid you have to be. And it's not about stupid, it's not about money. It's about the principle of exercising your power.
So the very thing they tried to charge Trump with, or I should say charged him and found him guilty, and then tried to steal his property from him, is the same thing that they're guilty of. So there's another Democrat.
Now, this just in. A complaint has been filed against Adam Schiff for allegedly committing fraud and perjury by listing 2 homes as his primary residence.
So the same thing that happened to Leticia James is the same thing that's happened to Adam Schiff. Do you understand why they need to get Trump out of office? It's not because he's a tyrant or a dictator or a king. It's because he's exposing all their crimes.
Now, in this video, we're going to take a look at a Daily Wire report that says Janet Mills, now that's the governor, okay? That's the governor of Maine. Janet Mills and her family get rich off the Maine governor's trans stance.
Look at that. Again, family members getting rich off of these politicians.
Maine is set to lose federal funding for its Department of Education and school meal program over Governor Janet Mills' refusal to conform to the Trump administration's trans policies. Now, I will say that since this article was reported, there was an agreement between the Trump administration and the Maine administration on the school meals program. Okay. Maine Health, where Janet Mills' sister Dora Ann Mills is Chief Health Improvement Officer, was a top donor to Mills' 2022 gubernatorial run. The healthcare system offers damaging and irreversible treatments for gender-confused minors, such as puberty blockers, gender-affirming hormone therapy, and menstrual suppression. Such procedures are lucrative for Maine Health and, of course, backed by Governor Mills. The Maine Medical Center, which is part of Maine Health, doled out so-called trans treatment to the largest number of minors in the state, according to data available from the Do No Harm database. The medical center, according to a report from the Maine Wire, submitted tens of thousands of dollars worth of insurance claims to 244 prescriptions for puberty blockers and cross-sex hormone treatments. In 2023, Mills signed a bill into law that allows minors to access hormone therapies without their parents' consent. Now, how could that possibly be a law, y'all? How can it possibly be a law that minors can access hormone therapies without parents' consent? At Maine Health, there is a, quote, school-based health center, quote, that permits minors to speak to nurses and doctors about their health concerns without parental consent. Quote, sometimes children need to talk with someone who is unbiased, supportive, and can offer a fresh perspective, quote, the website reads. We encourage students to involve a parent or guardian in their care. So here they're telling the kids, hey, you might want to get your parents involved, but that is not a requirement.
So another Democrat pushing policies that benefit her and her family. FBI arrests Democratic D.C. council member for bribery.
Says he's planning to run in a Ward 8 special election meant to replace him after his expulsion from the D.C. Council. Now, White is facing a federal bribery investigation. He's accused of accepting tens of thousands of dollars to steer city contracts within a D.C. neighborhood safety office. Just a few days ago, the former deputy director of that office, Dana McDaniel, pleaded guilty on a similar charge. But Trayon White maintains his innocence, and he's now joining a very crowded field to try to reclaim his seat this July.
Well, he still hasn't gotten back to me several hours later, so all we know at this point is what he said on social media, that his re-election campaign starts today. Now, as far as who's on that campaign, that's what's unclear right now. But what is clear is he still has voter support, even with the naysayers. They got him elected mere months after his federal bribery charge, only for the council to later expel him, finding substantial evidence he broke council and city government rules in an independent investigation they commissioned, following allegations he steered city contracts from government agencies to various companies and organizations in exchange for cash bribes and kickbacks.
Yeah, that happens quite often. Look at Bob Menendez, the Democrat who was busted for bribery. They re-elect him, put him back in office, and he gets busted again for the same thing. Him and his wife. Letitia James, oh yeah, the lady that campaigned on going after Trump and trying to make him poor. Well, guess who's about to be poor? Yeah, and what is she getting busted for? The very thing that she accused Trump of. Except for Trump isn't going to need a activist judge. She's actually guilty of these crimes. Again, it's just a quick run-up about Letitia James and Adam Schiff both getting busted for the very thing that they charged Trump with.
All right, so today I'm going to talk about the allegations that surfaced about Senator Adam Schiff. He's a Democrat in California. And the allegations are that he may have misrepresented his primary residence in Maryland to secure favorable mortgage rates and tax exemptions, despite serving and voting in California. Now, if this seems familiar to you, that's because Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York, is going through the same controversy, where she allegedly lives in New York. Well, she doesn't allegedly live in New York. She does live in New York, but filled out some forms that said she was living in Virginia to get favorable mortgage rates. At least those are the allegations.
So, two more Democrats. It's what I'm talking about, one after the other after the other. Now, let me show you the arrogance of a Democrat.
Because you ran 2 stop signs and you're going to get a citation today.
Uh-oh.
I was behind you, ma'am. You didn't even come to a complete stop. This stop sign right here, I did not.
All right, guys, what do we got today? We have Senator Regina Goodwin, a Democrat, of course. She ran 2 stop signs, and now she is fighting with law enforcement. This is about to go left.
Driver's license.
I did not do that.
I need your driver's license.
Away somewhere, and you talking about you gonna give me a ticket and all that.
I need your driver's license.
I come down this place. I did not run
Ma'am,
two stop
I need your
signs.
driver's license. Yes, you did.
And why are you doing all this? Like you got
I need your driver's license.
What?
I'm fixing my vest. I need your driver's license, ma'am.
What's your name?
Alanis.
And who do you work with?
Tulsa County Sheriff's Office.
Tulsa County Sheriff's
Yep,
Office.
ma'am, and I'm stopping you because you ran 2 stop signs.
Why are you even? I did not run 2 stop signs.
This is the Tulsa County.
I know, but I didn't run 2 stop signs.
Okay, I need your driver's license.
But how do we solve this if I know I didn't run 2 stop signs?
Well, we can solve it in court. I need your driver's license.
No, but you're not telling the truth.
It seems like Regina doesn't want to cooperate. Again, Miss Goodwin is a representative of the great state of Oklahoma. She is in the Senate. She has a lot of power. She's a somebody. She feels like she doesn't deserve a traffic ticket. Now, we all know that traffic tickets are discretionary. Sometimes these officers will let you off with a warning. Usually to get that, though, you have to be nice. In this case, though, Miss Goodwin is a state senator. She has a lot of power, and she's talking to a regular patrol officer. This gentleman may be making $45,000, $47,000 a year. It looks like this senator doesn't appreciate this officer talking to her this way. Let's see what happens.
I did not run 2 stop
telling the
signs.
truth. Yes, you did run 2 stop signs.
How did I run 2 stop signs?
You didn't come to a complete stop at this stop sign here, and you didn't come to a complete stop on the other stop sign. No, you did not come to a stop.
You said not a complete stop.
You slowed down. You slowed down. You did not come to a stop.
Huh?
You slowed down. You did not even come to a stop.
I slowed down at the stop sign.
You slowed down.
Uh-huh.
State statute is you must come to a complete, full stop.
And that's true, guys. We've all heard the term rolling stop, where you kind of slow down and inch your way through the stop sign.
But this is the arrogance of the Democrats. Listen how she's talking to this police officer. She's refusing to cooperate. And that's how they end up getting arrested. And she does. He handcuffs her, but he lets her go. I wouldn't have let her go. I'd have took her down to the office. So are the people finally waking up to the truth just how corrupt Washington, D.C. is?
At this point, it's not just about domestic corruption. No, we're looking more globally. We're looking at the global racket. And in this particular case, global election meddling. See, the Democrats and their bureaucratic allies weren't just stuffing their own pockets with slush funds and dirty deals. No, apparently they were rigging political outcomes in foreign countries as well. And thanks once again to investigative reporter Mike Benz, we've now got receipts showing that USAID, the State Department, and the Department of Labor, and of course a bunch of shady NGOs, were funneling American tax dollars to unions to prop up leftist candidate and current president Lula in Brazil. According to Benz, the main player was AFL-CIO, the so-called labor federation that's allegedly a political arm of the CIA. According to Benz, the group has historically worked with the CIA to influence foreign governments, and now the claim is that they were actively interfering in Brazil's election by using taxpayer money to fund and mobilize pro-Lula unions to push their candidate to power. In other words, faking a grassroots movement of workers to install their preferred globalist candidate.
That's what ActBlue did. You see how corrupt our CIA is? And this movement that seems to be trying to take place here? This political correctness and this culture war that we have going on? It's all corrupt. and it's a communist movement, just so you are aware. Oh, now this brings huge smile to my face, because even these internet sensations, Harry Sessions, this guy talks so much shit about Trump, and then he gets busted for running cover on a pedo, as well as, well, just pay attention.
Also, MAGA has been spreading misinformation about the situation, so I want to set the record straight.
I got played by a TikTok influencer for 9 months.
These are times in which Harry was getting obliterated drunk.
I knew that this guy was a player.
It's just kind of funny to hear Harry Sisson and player in the same sentence.
You don't act this way at all on TikTok.
The only person he was receiving photos from, violently under wraps from you guys. And then I found out that she was talking to him.
I mean, he went so overboard in trying to prove that he was straight.
If he had flat told us, hey, I am talking to other people.
No, I can't.
Straight?
I can't. Okay. Yes, I'm straight.
I'm just asking.
Harry Sisson is a left-wing social media influencer who claimed that America failed women when Donald Trump won the 2024 presidential election. But over the last few weeks, women have been coming out claiming that Harry Sisson failed them. And I didn't want to talk about this entire situation because it felt like it was missing something. And that is until now, because Harry has responded to the allegations, and apparently he is blaming Trump supporters. Now, it's not like Trump supporters lost faith in Harry Sisson, because frankly, they never had it. It came out that he received over $200,000 from the DNC in under 1 year. And that was because he signed on with a company that's called Palette Media. You can see here that they have worked with the Biden-Harris administration. And also now, since all of these allegations, they have dropped him as a client. So this has really affected his entire brand image. And I'm excited to find out how this is Trump supporters' fault. But to liberals, it's always Trump or MAGA fans' fault. So
he's womanizing. Some people go, big deal. He's a young guy. Let him womanize. Yeah, but he's sitting there lecturing everybody about Orange Man bad and how he deals with women. And then come to find out.
So I just want you guys to also understand that he hates MAGA because they kind of bully him because he's like very bullyable, if you know what I'm saying. So here is a clip of him addressing the MAGA bullies in a sense.
How's your dating life? It's fantastic, wonderful, amazing. Are you dating right now? I can't answer that question. Why? Because I can't answer that question.
Dude, obviously you can live, bro. Are you dating or not?
I'm private about that stuff. MAGA's crazy.
You don't have to say her name.
No, I can't.
Straight?
Okay. Yes, I'm straight.
I'm just asking.
No, I know.
The Republicans say that. No.
No. I'm not saying you look like
I know.
gay.
I know you're not saying.
Because you're saying it's private. I'm like,
no, you're a smart kid. How long have you been dating your girl?
I can't comment on that.
I mean, actually, everything that he was saying, he was like blaming everything on MAGA. He's like, I don't want to talk about this because it's private, because MAGA is crazy. And then she's like, are you straight? And she's like, I know MAGA says that I'm not. It's like, not everything is MAGA's fault when it comes to your life, you know? I mean, we can already see this tendency that he's making every action that he takes has something to do against MAGA. It's already weird, right? And we haven't even gotten into any of the allegation stuff. This is just Harry Sisson pre-drama, you know? This is Harry Sisson in his natural habitat. He says stuff like this.
I'm genuinely convinced that a lot of these Trump supporters would be perfectly fine with their wives spending a night with Donald Trump.
I mean, is that not kind of a weird thing to say? I mean, imagine if somebody said that the other way around, like that all of the women who want Kamala Harris to win would love if their husbands were with her. It's like, that's kind of a weird thing to say. So I post these videos just to keep you guys in the loop of the things that people are talking about. And I noticed that this girl, Sarah Fields, was all over this topic, and she had a lot of evidence and was sharing many different stories from women. So I'm going to read a little bit of this post. She says, Harry Sisson convinced 11 different women that he had no roster and respected them for more than their bodies, while persuading them them to send pictures of themselves through Snapchat. When the women discovered each other one by one, he called them all insane. So he's gaslighting them and attempted to coerce one of them into telling the public that the photos were fake. A request to the readers set political differences to the side. I believe both sides of the aisle can agree that this is unacceptable behavior from a man-child with collectively over 2 million followers. There is an apparent message from Harry Sisson that doesn't say the most appropriate thing. And then here's an audio. So let's listen closely to see what it's about.
I don't read on live. Yeah, I saw about this. Like actually lunatics. Like genuinely, this individual in question is insane.
Wait, who is that?
And so, I'll send, I can share with Chris. I'll send a screenshot. Yeah, no, like legitimately, Chris and I have been talking about this for days now.
Uh-oh.
This individual.
Wait, who? Wait, what?
If you want to.
Okay, so I guess that is perhaps maybe when he begins calling those women insane for like finding out what he is doing. That's actually really messed up. That's like a form of like mental torture.
I'll leave the link so you can come check out this whole thing. But for most of us, nobody likes Harry, so we're glad to see his downfall. But again, another two-faced Democrat getting caught. Let's go ahead and get to the fun part so you guys can hear what his excuse is.
I don't believe that Donald Trump is as bad of a person as he says, as they say he is. I believe that he was convicted because they tried to keep him from the presidency. They also try to take his life as well. So I don't think that that's an excuse to just completely look past how a party can be so for women's rights and then emotionally abuse women. To me, it just really seems like Harry felt like he had something to prove. And so he tried his very best to basically use women to try to prove that he has game. Like he felt like he needed to prove himself. I mean, why else would you post a picture like this? But I am just so excited to finally hear how this is MAGA's fault. Aren't you guys? I mean, it's so interesting how they can always turn it around.
I want to talk openly and honestly about this entire controversy that has exploded in the past week. First and foremost, I want to start by saying I fucked up. I should have told the people I was talking to that there were other people, and of course I regret that decision, and I've reflected on it a lot, and I'm learning and going to be better in the future. Now, what I will say is that this entire situation has been blown wildly out of proportion by MAGA Republicans to further their political agenda. Like, we all know that they don't actually care about this. They just hate me. That's why they care. I mean, when has MAGA ever cared about women? Also, MAGA has been spreading misinformation about the situation, so I want to set the record straight. I was not in a relationship with anyone. I wasn't exclusive with anyone. I never met anybody in person. I never spoke to anybody on the phone, and it was done among consensual adults. That's it. It was a very casual thing. Additionally, we as Democrats have to get better at recognizing someone who makes a mistake and can learn from that mistake, and someone who does actual harm to a community. We cannot, as a party, just attack and demonize people who make mistakes, people who are learning from their actions. If we ever want to hold office ever again and actually win an election, our umbrella should be as wide as possible, and we shouldn't be trying to silence people or push people away who are vocal on these issues. The final thing I'll say about this is that people involved in this situation released my private text messages, private photos of me, intimate details about me that intended to stay private without my knowledge or consent. I didn't consent to any of that. A complete violation of my privacy. And I think that regardless of your political beliefs, you can agree that that's wrong. I certainly wouldn't do that to somebody, and I know you wouldn't either. One thing I'm particularly proud of my generation for doing is moving past this idea that we should idolize politicians beyond their impact. However, I'd like to look at the other side of the coin. When politics becomes a game of pointing out any small mistakes someone makes, we are putting our feelings above what truly matters, how we are all impacted by the actions our leaders take. And I'll conclude with this. I have some bad news for MAGA. I know they thought they could use this situation to try to take me down or silence me, but that was never going to work. I'm still going to be vocal about the things I care about and fight for the things I care about.
And Harry's a nobody. He lost his respect for his own people as well as for MAGA, who jumped all over this. I was happy for his downfall because he's a prick. Now let me show you what happens when a Democrat dares to be in the middle and say, stop with all the nonsense. This is what happens.
This is Joni Ernst, the junior senator from Iowa. Recently, Senator Ernst held a town hall in Butler County, and let's just take a look at a clip.
These are troubling times in the United States of America. Many Americans, including me, have great concerns about the direction that our president is taking, our federal government is taking right now. We clearly have, and this is already in place, we clearly have a president who is destroying the federal government to serve his own purposes. Now he has taken over the government, and he's been very clear about it. He's been good about it. In 4 months, he's made it into a dictatorship. But this has been like a Nazi blitzkrieg, and you folks have sat and done nothing.
Obviously, I don't agree, because I don't think our country is being destroyed. On the other hand, I see...
Oh, how dare her. This is what happens to Democrats who don't fall in line and go with the whole Trump Nazi thing, Trump Hitler, Trump a dictator. That's because he's exposing all their criminality. It's hard being a centrist. That's what happens whenever you say, this country's not being destroyed. You guys are overreacting. Calm down. That's not going to happen. They will attack you. Anyways, it's a long video because so many of them commit crimes. That's all the ones I can just fit in this video. There's tons more. Take the time and show this to your Democrat friends. They keep saying that Trump's a dictator and that the Democrats are there to protect our democracy. Yeah, okay. Anyways, that's it for now. Look forward to your comments. I'll catch you later. I'm out.